Welcome to the deep dive. Um, you know that moment when you're checking out online or maybe downloading a new app?
Oh, yeah, and you get to that empty white box that just says, enter your email
Right,
address.
exactly. You type it in, you tap submit, and a little loading wheel spins for, I don't know, maybe half a second?
Barely even a blink.
Yeah. It feels like the most routine, mundane action in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But in that tiny fraction of a second, there's actually this invisible high-stakes war being fought over your identity.
It really is. It's an invisible war.
Yeah, this massive global infrastructure is silently spinning up to evaluate exactly who you are, completely unseen. And that's our mission for today's deep dive. We're looking at some fascinating source material from LexisNexis regarding their emails product.
Which is, it's their advanced email fraud detection and risk management solution.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this because we really need to understand the sheer scale of the problem before we dive into what's happening on that half-second loading screen.
Absolutely. The scale is staggering.
Because fraud isn't just, a minor nuisance anymore. It is a massive economic drain. Like, global payments are projected to exceed $362 billion in fraud losses.
Over just the next 5 years.
Yeah, $362 billion.
Yeah.
And scams are driving, I think the source said 35% of those losses.
Yeah, 35%. It's an entire industry of theft operating on a macroeconomic scale.
It's wild.
And what's fascinating here is the stark contrast between the absolute sophistication of that threat and, well, the primary weapon used to fight it.
Right, because the fraudsters aren't just guessing passwords anymore.
Oh no, they are leveraging artificial intelligence. They're using deepfakes.
Wow.
They use voice cloning to bypass security, going directly after consumers. It's high-tech, it's aggressive, and it is infinitely scalable.
But the weapon to fight all that sci-fi level fraud is...
Surprisingly mundane. To fight off this futuristic wave of AI-driven fraud, the primary defensive weapon is literally just that string of text you just typed into the box, your email address.
Which, on the surface, makes almost no intuitive sense at all.
Right, you'd think it would be something way more advanced.
Yeah. You would think the ultimate weapon against a $362 billion fraud industry would be, I don't know, facial recognition. Or mandatory Social Security checks.
For intense biometric scans, yeah.
Exactly. Why is the logical anchor for fighting fraud something as simple as the humble email address?
Well, it seems entirely counterintuitive until you start looking at the behavioral data of how we actually live online.
Okay, lay it on me.
First, just consider the sheer ubiquity of it. There are 7.9 billion email accounts globally.
Wait, 7.9 billion? That's basically the entire global population.
Pretty much, and 99% of email users check their accounts every single day.
That is wild. And we are sending something like 3.13 million emails every single second.
The volume is hard to even wrap your head around,
Oh, yeah.
but it goes way deeper than just volume.
How so?
It's about how deeply intertwined that specific address is with your actual life. Like the average person in the US has 100 to 150 online accounts linked to a single email address.
Oh, man. Think about your own oldest email address right now.
Right, the one you made in middle school.
Exactly. Think about all the random accounts tied to it. Streaming, banking, that one shoe store you bought from 6 years ago.
That interconnectedness is the critical metric here. An email address is the single thread running through your entire digital existence.
I kind of look at it like a digital passport,
Oh, I like that.
but not like a pristine, newly issued one. An email address is a digital passport that's just completely covered in stamps, scuffs, folded pages, and visas from years of travel.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
Every time you sign up for a newsletter, that's a stamp. Every time you buy a concert ticket, that's a visa. It has this rich, deeply boring history. It has a footprint.
And that footprint is incredibly sticky. Over 32% of users have kept the exact same email address for more than 10 years.
10 years in internet time is basically a century.
Exactly. We live in a highly transient digital world. People change their physical addresses all the time.
They upgrade their phones, change their numbers.
Right. They get new credit cards issued. They change their IP addresses constantly as they move from, say, home Wi-Fi to a coffee shop.
But the email address remains static.
It does. It's a long-term anchor. So ignoring the historical value of that anchor would be a massive missed opportunity for any business trying to figure out if you're a real human or a bot.
Okay, so the email address is the ultimate digital passport. But how does a company actually check that passport without invading your privacy?
Or just completely annoying you.
Yes. without slowing down your purchase. We have all been stuck in that nightmare loop of trying to buy something and getting hit with endless verification screens.
Ugh, the text message codes.
The CCAP-CHA is asking you to identify blurry traffic lights. There's this pervasive myth that a fraud detection system simply looks at your email address and just checks if it's formatted correctly.
Or maybe checks it against some static list of known bad emails.
Right.
Yeah, that myth completely underestimates the technology. Analyzing an email in isolation just doesn't work anymore.
So what does Emailage actually do?
The email is really just the starting point. It's the center of gravity, sure, but it's only one factor in a much larger instantaneous calculation.
Okay.
Systems like Emailage collect multiple inputs via a single API.
An application programming interface.
Right. At the exact onset of an interaction, the system is taking the email, the IP address, the name, the phone number, the shipping address, and the billing address all at once.
Wait, let's put this in slow motion for a second, because this is the part that blows my mind.
Sure.
Explain to me the actual mechanics of what happens in that half second. I type my email, I hit submit on my phone. What actually happens before the next page loads?
Okay, let's break down those milliseconds. In the first 10 milliseconds after you hit submit, that API acts as a digital messenger.
Okay.
It packages up the data you just entered, your name, your email, your device's IP address, and fires it off to the fraud detection engine.
10 milliseconds.
Yeah. Then, in the next 50 milliseconds, advanced AI and machine learning algorithms start analyzing thousands of signals against that specific email's behavior, its velocity, and its history.
And it's looking for very specific technical anomalies during that 50 millisecond window, right?
Exactly.
Things like email tumbling and enumeration. Let's actually explain those because they sound like sci-fi concepts, but they're very real tactics.
They are very real and honestly very common. Email tumbling is a classic fraud tactic.
How's it work?
A bad actor takes a single legitimate email address, say johndoe@email.com and manipulates it to look like dozens of different accounts.
Like adding punctuation.
Right. They might add a period so it becomes john.doe@email.com, or they add a plus sign and some random numbers.
Into a basic system, those look like brand new, unique customers.
Yep, unique customers signing up for free trials or promo codes over and over. But the AI recognizes the underlying root email and flags the tumbling behavior instantly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And enumeration is when a fraudster essentially uses a brute force script to guess email addresses, right?
Exactly. Like having a bot rapidly ping a server with admin@company.com, info@company.com, test1@company.com.
Just to see which ones get a valid response so they can target them later.
That's it, exactly. The system also performs what's called input confidence matching.
What means what?
It basically looks at the story we're telling it and asks if the pieces make sense together.
Oh, interesting.
Does the name John mathematically correlate with the shipping address in Omaha, Nebraska based on historical patterns? Does the device IP match the billing zip code?
So it's essentially comparing the stamps on your digital passport against the physical person standing at the desk to see if the story adds up.
Right. It acts as the lock on a business's front door. Fraudsters will try to scheme their way through multiple entry points, but if you automate this decision-making right at the threshold...
You stop the bad actors before they even take a single step inside.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to push back on this premise for a second.
Let's hear it.
Because if I'm listening to this, and I realize the system relies heavily on the long, rich, 10-year history of my email address.
Right.
What happens if I decide to create a brand new email address today? Say I'm planning a wedding, and I want a fresh inbox just for catering quotes and vendor emails.
Makes total sense.
I make the account, and I immediately go to buy $1,000 worth of decorations online. Does the system automatically lock me out and flag me as a fraudster just because my digital passport has 0 stamps?
That's a really common fear.
Do I get punished for having no history?
This raises an important question, and it really highlights why relying solely on the age of an email would be a terrible business model.
It would block so many real people.
It would create massive friction for genuine customers. And this is exactly where the AI evaluates velocity and behavior in conjunction with all those other attributes.
So it's not just a pass or fail grade based on how old the email is.
Not at all. Let's look at the context of your wedding example. Yes, the email address is 5 minutes old.
Right.
But the IP address of the laptop you're using is the same IP address you've used to check your bank account for the last 2 years.
Oh, okay.
The physical shipping address you entered for the decorations matches the billing address on your credit card.
So the system sees the whole picture.
Exactly. The system's AI contextualizes the lack of email history with the overwhelming presence of trust in the other data points. It understands this is just normal human behavior.
That makes sense.
Now, conversely, if a brand new email address is created and within 5 minutes it attempts to purchase 10 high-end laptops shipping to a freight forwarder using an IP address that was just flagged for malware,
Yeah, that's a totally different story.
the velocity of that behavior is entirely anomalous. The goal is to avoid false positives so you, the wedding planner, aren't inconvenienced.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. A smart lock on a front door is only effective if it actually knows what a burglar looks like.
Right.
And an AI model evaluating velocity and behavior is only as good as the data it's been trained on. So how does a server in New York know the behavior patterns of a new fraud ring operating out of Eastern Europe? Or, like, a ticketing scam in South America? How does the AI actually know what bad looks like on a global scale?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer is the network.
The network.
Yeah, the power of the email address as a unique identifier is exponentially amplified by a cross-industry contributory data network.
Contributory meaning everyone chips in.
Exactly. This system is not operating in a vacuum. It is powered by fraud feedback and metadata shared by thousands of companies all over the world.
The sheer scale of that network is staggering. The source material said it processes over 124 billion transactions.
It's massive.
It tracks 5 billion email addresses, 2.8 billion phone numbers, and 3.4 billion IP addresses across more than 200 countries and territories.
Yeah.
I look at it like a global digital immune system.
I love that.
It operates on this give-to-get model.
Let's explore that immune system concept because it perfectly describes the mechanism.
Sure.
When a biological virus enters a body, the immune system creates an antibody. The next time that virus appears, the body recognizes it instantly. The contributory network works the exact same way.
Guess so.
If a fraudster attacks a bank in London on a Tuesday morning using a specific, highly anomalous behavioral pattern, the bank flags that transaction.
Okay.
That metadata, not the personal details, mind you, but the behavioral signature of the attack, is fed back into the central nervous system.
So by Wednesday morning, an airline in Brazil already knows about that exact email's risky behavior.
Exactly. The network shared the antibody.
The Brazilian airline doesn't need to be attacked to learn the lesson. They're protected by the experience of the bank in London.
And the results of plugging into that hive mind are just transformative for businesses.
It's got some case studies on this, right?
Yeah, take the airline industry, which is a massive target for fraud rings buying last-minute tickets with stolen credit cards.
Oh, sure.
A leading airline in Latin America actually implemented this exact solution at the front of their checkout process. By instantly analyzing the email and behavioral data before processing the payment, they reduced their fraud losses by 90% in just their first 3 months.
90%. That is wild.
It equated to saving over $6 million in just 90 days.
$6 million in 3 months. That isn't just a security upgrade. That is a massive operational shift.
Huge shift.
And it changes how a company allocates its human resources. Think about a massive global e-commerce merchant. Before this kind of AI network, if an order looks slightly weird, you would get flagged for manual review.
Oh, manual reviews are brutal.
Right. That means an actual human employee has to sit at a desk, pull out the order, look at the email, call the customer, and try to figure out if it's legitimate. It's incredibly slow and expensive.
It creates a massive bottleneck for the business. But by utilizing this network, one global merchant was able to cut those manual reviews down to just 1% of all their transactions.
That is incredible.
They completely streamlined their operations. They prevented 50% of their total fraud with a 72% hit rate. They aren't just catching the bad actors, they are radically making their own internal business more efficient.
Which really speaks to the compounding value of a network like this.
Definitely.
As the community of businesses grows and they continuously share their fraud feedback into the system, the underlying AI and machine learning technology just grows smarter.
It's constantly learning.
It isn't a static firewall. It continuously updates its rules and policies as new risks and fraud schemes evolve. It's a living, breathing defense mechanism that adapts to its environment in real time.
That's exactly what it is.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've talked about billions of transactions, advanced AI velocity models, and massive global infrastructures evaluating your email in half a second.
The big picture stuff.
Yeah, but how does this invisible war actually impact your day-to-day life? when you are just trying to buy a pair of shoes or set up a new streaming account on your couch.
Well, it impacts you directly because the cost of fraud is never contained just to the business that was targeted. There is a staggering multiplier effect.
How bad is it?
Every single dollar of fraud loss actually costs organizations an average of $3.91.
Wow. Almost quadruple the initial cost.
Yep.
Because it isn't just the lost pair of shoes, it's the chargeback fees from the credit card company.
The manual labor of the investigation.
Right, the replacement costs, the lost shipping fees.
Yeah.
And that extra $2.91 doesn't just disappear into the ether. It is a hidden tax on the internet.
It really is.
It trickles down to everyone. It means higher prices for consumers to offset the losses.
And it means stricter, more annoying security protocols for everyone, too.
The worst.
The system we're discussing operates silently to prevent a whole spectrum of these costly attacks from ever reaching that stage.
Like what kind of attacks?
Well, it's designed to stop account opening fraud, where someone pieces together stolen data to create a synthetic, fake identity. It stops account takeovers, where a hacker tries to lock you out of your own bank portal.
Scary stuff.
It even targets bonus promotion abuse, like when a user tries to tumble their email 50 times just to get 50 $10 off coupons, which just bleeds marketing budgets dry.
All right.
It also prevents card-not-present chargebacks, which are basically the bane of online retailers.
That is the real bottom line here.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal of this technology isn't just playing an endless game of whack-a-mole with international fraud rings.
No, not at all.
It is about removing barriers for low-risk, everyday users. It means that when you type in your email address to buy those shoes, you don't have to jump through 10 annoying security hoops.
You don't have to solve a puzzle.
Right. You don't have to wait for an SMS code. Your email address and its rich, boring, totally normal history verified across a global network is silently vouching for you.
It's proving you're a genuine human.
And it lets you pass right through the front door without any friction whatsoever.
And in the current digital landscape, that frictionless protection isn't just a luxury, it is vital.
Oh, absolutely.
We mentioned earlier that fraudsters are using AI, deepfakes, and voice cloning to target consumers directly.
Yeah, the sci-fi stuff.
In an era where a bad actor can perfectly mimic your voice on a phone call to your bank or generate a fake ID video with your face on it, protecting the very first interaction is paramount.
That makes total sense.
Whether you're setting up a new account, changing your shipping details, or initiating a peer-to-peer payment, this silent, instant, email-based risk assessment is one of the absolute only ways businesses can safely operate and actually trust their customers online.
It really reframes how you look at that little white text box.
It does.
We started this deep dive looking at a looming $362 billion global threat.
Yeah.
And we traced the frontline defense against it down to the humble, everyday email address.
A digital passport.
Carrying the invisible stamps of your entire online life, evaluated in mere milliseconds by a hive mind network that has learned from billions of transactions across the globe. It is a massive, invisible shield hiding right in plain sight in your inbox.
But, if we think critically about where this technology is heading, there is a lingering, almost unsettling tension here.
Uh-oh. What is it?
Well, fraudsters are already using AI to create deepfakes and evade visual detection, right?
Right.
Currently, the good guys are using AI to evaluate the human history, the behavior, and the velocity of an email address across this massive network.
Okay.
But this raises an inevitable question about the future of this arms race. How long until the fraudsters develop an AI specifically designed to age and behave a synthetic email address over several years?
Oh, why?
Imagine an AI that meticulously mimics a normal human's velocity. It creates an email. It signs up for a few newsletters.
It clicks a link.
Exactly. 6 months later, it makes a tiny $2 purchase. It lets the email age like a fine wine, purely to build up a legitimate-looking history.
All just to eventually bypass this exact kind of digital lock for a massive payday 3 years down the line.
Exactly.
An AI trained specifically to be aggressively boring and normal, just to build the perfect, flawless fake passport.
It's a very real possibility.
That is a chilling thought. It means the definition of human behavior is going to get very blurry very quickly.
It really is.
The next time you type your email into a checkout page and watch that little loading wheel spin for half a second, just remember the massive, invisible AI arms race happening behind the scenes, fighting over your identity right inside your inbox. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.